welcome to my channel, AquaStarGoddess. If you are new here, definitely subscribe, hit that bell button so you can get notifications each and every time I upload a new video. So I know it has been 3+ years, okay, that you guys have been waiting for this video, but that's okay, better late than never, right? I think so. Right, I know some of y'all probably like, girl, because I've seen a couple people in my comments like, you ain't answered my question yet. So I'm going to answer all of the questions that you have that I can in this video about ancestor money. This video, we are going to be covering ancestor money, Joss paper, and I'm going to answer all of your questions from my previous video titled Why and How to Burn Ancestor Money. Okay, so we are going to go back to that video. I'm going to answer all of those questions, and then I think I'm going to make a couple of extra videos right after this. So I know since it's been so long, I'm going to just kind of knock out multiple videos in one setting, and I'm just going to make sure that I address either your questions or your request for additional, content for this specific topic. So once again, today we're going to be answering your questions about Joss paper / ancestor money, and how you can use this to help you in many different ways on the spiritual level. Okay, so let's get right into it. So first off, if you haven't seen the previous video, it is titled Why and How to Burn Ancestor Money, Joss paper, etc. I'm gonna go ahead and link that video down below, as well as probably gonna be a card up here or something like that. I'll make sure that I put videos in case this is your first time catching the video and you haven't gotten the first one. So let's go down the list. I've got my iPad, my handy dandy iPad here, and we've got a ton of questions to answer. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Once again, I wanna say thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as well as hitting that bell button so you can get notifications each and every time I upload new videos. One more thing before I go, I want you guys to know that I do have ancestor money in stock. If you go to my website at aquastargoddess.com/shop, you are going to be able to see that we have ancestor money available. So you can pick up ancestor money right on the website if you're interested in that as well. Okay, so moving forward, let's start with the first one. Well, first off, this one says best video on ancestor money I've seen. Thank you. It's my pleasure, absolutely my pleasure to create that video. And here I am again, talking again about this topic, because actually I have so much to tell you guys as it relates to using ancestor money over the last 3 years. I've got so much to tell you guys. So be on the lookout for additional videos about this topic, because I've got so much to tell you, okay? All right, moving forward, the next comment says, have been practicing different spirituality for most of my life, and just found out about ancestor money. I just ordered thank you for the video. Okay, you're very welcome. No answer to my question. Look, somebody's already like, excuse me. So my man, like, calm down. How do you pay off karmic debt with the ancestor money? Well, listen, this question is a very loaded question. It has a loaded answer. I am going to end up making an additional video, but quickly, I'm just going to say this. Your ancestor money is a way to honor the spirits, honor the dead, honor your ancestors, etc. One of the things that it can do is that, because the intention is to send like money or property or things to your ancestors, when you burn this money, it's kind of as if you are giving the ancestors or the spirits money, right? And so you can often find that maybe your ancestors have some specific debt to pay. Maybe they passed on, but they left some debt to pay. So we pass this into their ancestral realm, and they can help to balance out their past debts that they've left behind in whatever realm they are currently in. Okay, so it's kind of helpful in that way, as well as if you set the intention, right, because it's all about intentions as well. If you set the intention that I want to use this to help me pay off some karmic debt, okay, then you can absolutely set the intention for that. I'm going to have to make another video about how careful you must be with this process, because like I said, over the last 3 years, I have learned so much, and I am going to definitely spill. I'm gonna spill, okay? I'm gonna spill the tea. So definitely look for another video as it relates to karmic debt with the ancestor money. I will certainly drop that video. Matter of fact, that's gonna be probably most likely the very next video I record after this one, okay? But thank you so much for your question. That came from Treasure Queen TV. So Treasure Queen TV, thank you so much for that question, as well as the previous people that commented as well. I just want to say thank you as well for commenting on the video. So Blue Rose 124 asks, what do you do with the ashes after you're finished? Where do you bury them? So you can bury them outside if you would like to, or you could throw them in the trash. I sometimes take mine into my backyard and put them there. But also I want to be clear with you that sometimes ash is also considered a magical component. So sometimes you can save some of those ashes as well and use them for future spiritual workings, okay? Moving forward, so thank you Blue Rose for that question. Let's move forward and see what else. Now the trend among the Chinese is burning smoke after powder, AKA Supuja powder. It comes from Tibetan Buddhism. The result is definitely super positive. So Relax WHC, thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely take a look at that practice right there and see if that's something that we want to implement into our practices. The reality is that here, yeah, we're kind of like, we do what works, okay? And maybe some specific groups of people don't like that, but hey, all right, we're all human and we all want to use what works. So let's keep it moving. Thank you so much for that comment though. We will definitely check that practice out. So the next person says, learned a lot from this video. Thanks, it's my pleasure. Snap. My pleasure. So it is nice to see folks in the West using ancestor money. It is. Thank you for that comment. So would you recommend burning outside? Somebody, so Empress, Priestess, Mix 1771 also asks, would I recommend burning this outside? I think that's based upon your space, right? Like if you've got like a really small contained space and smoke could cause issue, then take it outside, right? Because I have often over the last few years since I've made this video, I have often burned my ancestor money outside, quite often. But there have been a few times when I burned it inside as well. Oftentimes though, I do open the window up because it does cause smoke and the alarm goes off, so nobody wants to deal with that. So oftentimes, yes, go outside, okay? But you can do it inside. It really just depends on your space. So thank you for that question, Empress Priestess, Empress H Priestess Mix 1771. Moving forward, I love this video and your energy. Well, thank you, Miss Sincere 1122. Thank you so much for that comment. Moving forward, found some ancestral money at the market. Originally, I was gonna use it for cosplay, but something said Google and research. Cool video, and thank you for breaking it down. It is absolutely my pleasure to break that down. And like I said, I've got several other videos that are coming up right after this one that are going to break down even more things that I have learned. There's gonna be some pitfalls in there. It's gonna be some warnings in there. There'll be a couple things that you're gonna have to, I'm gonna share with you guys to be careful, okay? Moving forward, Jupiter Scorner 5423 says, I've been burning ancestor money consistently for a few months now, and I got quick results, so I struggled for a small amount of time. For example, I got approved for an apartment with no additional questions. I noticed some shift questions. So, you know, I appreciate that, you know, sharing your experience after, you know, me sharing that original video. So first off, that original video was created, there was not a lot of content about Joss paper, ancestor money burning and things like that when I originally created it. And it was after I had used it for a little while, I was practicing with it for a little bit to see what the results may be before I even created that video. But once I saw it, I was like, oh, we need to create a video. And then I came to the video, and then since then, you guys have just constantly been like on my neck about making a new video, and I apologize because my channel went in a different direction for a little bit, and I'm trying to bring it back around full circle to make sure that this channel is just a complete spiritual channel where we talk about spiritual concepts, themes, but keep in mind we also do tarot here as well. So if that bothers you, I understand, but you know, we're going to be having a mixture of various different content that's related to spirituality on this channel. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your results, Jupiter Scorner 5423. Moving forward, Michelle B4F says, what have you encountered by burning your money? Are you blessed also by this? Absolutely. Okay, I cannot, let me tell you something. I have learned a lot. A lot of things have happened. I have some pitfalls, some warnings for you guys, but outside of that, the same. To this day, okay, and she asked me this question 4 years ago, okay? She asked me this question 4 years ago. To this day, I stand by it. stands by it, okay? So absolutely, I have seen a lot of success with the ancestor money, but once again, like I told you, look out for that next video, because that next video is going to break down some of the things that I learned, and some of them are actually recently learned, like within the last 2 weeks. I discovered something about burning ancestor money and dross paper that you need to know, okay? So tune in, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, and stay tuned, because those videos are coming up. I'm going to shoot them right after this, and then I'll schedule them out, so you know they'll come very soon. Okay, so thank you so much, Michelle B4F. And yes, I have been very blessed by the ancestor money, obviously, because in the beginning of my journey, which is what we'll talk about in the next video, I was actually paying off a lot of karmic debt with my ancestor money. So that came with the balance of paying off karmic debt, okay? So that's one of the things that we are going to talk about in the next video, so definitely tune in, okay? Alrighty, so moving forward, it says, Smadden3933 says, this is an amazing breakdown on why it's necessary. Thank you, it's my pleasure. Moving forward, we've got SETI2066, just got my ancestor money, wondering if there are any things you'd suggest I always have at the altar, like some whiskey or certain colored candles or images, and how to properly discard the burnt remains of the ancestor money. So once again, with the ancestor money, as far as the burnt remains, I was discarding them in my backyard, okay? And you know, I would bury them in the ground there. But also some of the ancestor money, I would sometimes, if I were burning it in the house, then I would maybe discard the ashes in the trash, like after I was done. But it really just depends upon you. I really feel like sometimes I was also using the actual ash that I was burning as well for some spiritual workings. So it's really just based on you, but I was burning outside for a very long time, and then I would discard the ashes outside in the back and bury them in the ground. So another thing, as far as your altar goes, now I do have a separate video for altar and altar setup. I think as far as the altar goes, it's really based on you, who you are focused on, like who you are, who your ancestors are that you are venerating.
Okay, so as I was editing this video, I realized that I did leave out a couple things as it relates to setting up your altar. So you always want to have water, you always want to have some form of fire, you always want to have some form of air, which are usually like incense, but you can put a bell, or there's some other, like a singing bowl or something like that, to represent air. And then you want to have something that represents earth. I always use my crystals, so some sort of crystal, or you could put sand up there if you want, or even like seashells or something like that to represent the earth. But you want to have all of the elements present on your altar.
Who you are honoring with your ancestors, not with your ancestor, but with your altar. With your altar, it really is going to heavily depend upon who you are honoring, okay? And what they like, right? Because as I've spoken about before, I actually do have another video that I will link so you guys can see it, where I talked about Saint Expedite and also Ilegba and Baba Legba, right? Like Baba Legba, he likes rum, okay? He wants some rum. But there are other ancestors or other spiritual guides or other orishas that like other things. So it's really based upon who you are working with and who you are honoring, that, you know, as far as what you put on your altar. But we can go over some of those various different orishas. We can talk about some of those orishas in another video. I won't be recording that video today because I don't have an altar here at the office. I'm actually at my professional location, so I don't have any of that stuff here. That's all at home. So we can talk about that in another video. But thank you so much, SETI2066. Definitely appreciate that question. Moving forward, let's see. Knowledge to live. So I must be doing something wrong because it's not working for me. Well, let me go back. So I said to this when I responded, offering ancestor money should be used as an offering to your ancestors that have gone before. It is important to establish a relationship with your ancestors. It should be a daily and or weekly ritual, similar to prayer. And he says, I have a great relationship with my ancestors, and I'm at the altar day in and day out. So this person is literally just having a very negative experience. They were not satisfied with the results. Okay, they was like, it ain't working. So what do I do now? So You know, the reality is this, you are going to get what you put out, right? And that's so important. Another thing you will notice, if you have been keeping up with this channel since I made this video, you will notice I talk a lot about energy here, okay? I talk a lot about energy. I talk about a lot about the thoughts you keep, the words you speak, stuff like that. And if you are going into this negatively, if you're going into your altar negatively, thinking it's not gonna work, it ain't gonna work. So you've got to be clear about how you are stepping into something, you know? If you go into this thinking, oh, this ain't no real, this is fake, this ain't gonna work, that's exactly what's gonna happen. It's not gonna work, and Spirit's gonna show you it's not gonna work, because that's what you actually deep down think and feel. That's what you believe. That's what you know for yourself. So if you know that it's not gonna work, it ain't gonna work. So there's that. Moving forward. All right, so moving forward. So if someone in my family has an ancestor altar, is it possible to use theirs to do rituals? This is from Imani Rebecca. Rebecca, the thing is, yes, if you must, but I would not. Even if I have to set up a temporary altar, I would rather use my own altar, only because you do not know. Even if it's somebody that you with all the time, you don't know what they do on their altar and with their altar. So, and I'm not saying that you can't use their, listen, if that's the only altar you got available to you, and you know what I mean, it's kind of set up right, whatever, I wouldn't use it. I mean, if you want to put some money on there or whatever, like if their altar is all set up or whatever, you want to like put an offering on their altar, I don't see anything wrong with that. But if I'm being very clear with you, and I think that this is a preferential thing, I would not use somebody else's altar. Because like I was just saying, you don't know what they're doing, and you don't know what they're talking to, and you don't know who they're talking to, and you don't know, you just don't know. Even if you think you know, you don't know what somebody else is doing with their altar and using their altar for, and you don't know what magic they got going on over there. So for me, specifically and personally, I say make your own altar. Even if it's a temporary altar, even if all you gotta do is, you got this little, look, even if you carry in your purse, okay, a little tiny table, okay? And I know it sounds crazy, but look, even if you carry in your purse with you a little tiny table that you set up, you know what I mean? If you spending the night at somebody's house and you set up yourself a little altar for just a minute, I'd rather you do that, because like I said, you just don't know what other people are using their altar for. And although, you know, you have your own intentions, and when you stand there, you set your own intentions, you just never know what somebody else got going on, even when you think you know. So just keep that in mind, okay? I would not use someone else's altar, and that's just me, okay? But that doesn't have to mean that you can't if it's necessary for you to do so, okay? But cautiously, okay? All right, thank you so much for that question, Imani Rebecca. Let's move forward. We're moving on to Honeybee Marie. Ooh, I like that name. Do you bless the money with a prayer or sage, etc., before you begin the process, or do you just burn it? Oftentimes, I do come in with like a beginning prayer. I set the stage for the place, so I usually smudge my area, cleanse the whatever I'm using. So that's including my ancestor money. I make sure that it's saged, that it's cleansed. Sometimes I have even like made like ammonia spray and sprayed around the vicinity of the ancestor money before I've used it. I don't know that you have to though, right? Like, I'm not saying that that's a step you should definitely do. If you don't do it, then it's the wrong way. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that is there have been times that I personally have done that and have used that step. But one of the things that I do often though is smudging whatever area I'm using, cleansing that area. And so whatever materials and tools are in that space, yes, it's there. And there are times when I have consecrated both the tools, the things on my altar, and the ancestor money as well. I won't say that I've done that every time, okay? But for the majority of the time when I'm doing spiritual workings, I am definitely cleansing and like consecrating and like washing the space in various different ways. So sometimes I may use an incense to cleanse and clear the materials I'm using. Sometimes I may use a smudge stick. Sometimes I'm using sage. Sometimes it's Palo Santo. Sometimes it's taking a little ammonia spray. I create like these little bottles of spray, ammonia spray, Florida water spray, like whatever it is that I'm going to use. But oftentimes, especially before I'm doing a ritual practice, if it's related to the ancestor money, absolutely, yes, I am cleansing and doing that whole thing. So yes, thank you so much for that question, Honeybee Marie. Moving forward, this is for you, boo. Love the way that you said that. So listen, that first video that I made, listen, all I'm saying is Black people, get on this, sis. Now, I know right now it seems a little scary, like what have we done? But be aware that we have been paying some karmic debt and some of that stuff is coming back around. This is why it's so important for us to stay in positive affirmations, affirming what's going to happen for us. Good things are happening for us in this future. Stop affirming those negative talks when something happens with one of us in the news. We have to stop affirming that this negative thing is going to continue to spiral in that direction. We've got to readjust how we're speaking in those ways. So yeah, keep up with your workings, but now we got to make sure we change in the mindset, change in the words, change in the thoughts to be in our benefit. Highest, greatest good. Okay. But yes, honey, this is for us for sure. Moving forward. So Corey Deese says, thank you for your enlightenment. It's my pleasure. Rolex Enterprise says, well said. No, thank you. So Pisces 9557 says, can you burn ancestor money outside at the park if you can't burn it inside the home? Can't make an altar because parents will move everything. Yes. Like I said before, if you need to have like a temporary setup for yourself, then you can absolutely do that. Additionally, if you need to go to the park and burn your ancestor money, do it. The reality is outside is probably better where you do your spiritual work than inside, if I'm being clear with you. Obviously, you have a little bit more privacy on the inside, but on the outside, you're connected to the earth, honey, and you're right outside in the elements, okay? So most likely when you are outside, you are more connected to the elements than you are on the inside. I would be careful when it relates to the area. Make sure you are smudging the space that you're in, because you just may not know what spirits are out there or whatever. And you just don't want to disturb, you know, like you don't want to disturb spirits or whatever that are out there and minding their own business. And here you go with your bullshit, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't come over here with your bullshit. I ain't got time today. But just make sure you smudge the area, and also ask the land and ask the land creatures, whatever, for permission to use the space. Once you're okay and you've been okayed, yes, absolutely go outside. Honey, this is a free earth, honey. We used to sleep outside, so yes. All right. Thank you so much for that question, Pisces 9557. Thank you so much for asking that question. Moving forward, Nature's Dream says, thank you for the breakdown on how this works. I appreciate you. It is my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in. Can't wait to see your videos on setting up the altar. So I did set up the altar already. I did create a video there. I want to also see if there's a way that I can show you guys how to set up a temporary altar as well, because that's something that I never even considered. I never considered it, but it makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I might be needing one too. So let's get to it. So anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for those of you who have tuned into that previous video that I made about the ancestral money and joss paper, burning it and how to use it for your spiritual workings. I know that it's worked for some of you guys. Tune in on this video. Let me know down in the comments, how has using the joss paper and the ancestral money worked for you? Are you still using this practice? You know, what has benefited from you? Now, keep in mind, in the very next couple of videos about ancestral money and spiritual money, we are going to talk about the pitfalls. We're going to talk about the warning labels that I was not able to give you guys in the last video, but I'm here again to give you another warning label, okay? And just kind of giving you guys an updated video on why we use it, how we use it, etc., etc., etc. So keep in mind, I offer joss paper on my website at AquaStarGoddess.com/shop. If you go to my shop, you can purchase your ancestor money and I'll get that right off to you. I have been very happy to answer your questions. I'm super thrilled to share this information with you guys. I hope you guys have been using it and have seen success with it. And we got to keep it going. We got to keep moving forward with our spiritual work. As a community, this is what we need, okay? And I still stand by that. I still stand by those words. And I'm super excited to continue on to share more information with you. So thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, and yeah, like this video. Smash the like button. You can like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.